video here on the Andy #1 channel, and welcome back again to my front room, dining room, office, daughter's playroom for another episode of Tuesday Talks. Tuesday Talks is where I get to talk to a current professional, a current coach, someone in the world of football about their experiences, about their journey to where they got to and where they are today. Today's guest, today's talk will be with Derry City goalkeeper, Northern Ireland U21 international, Nathan Gartside. Nathan started playing football for Institute FC across in Ireland, moved across to Watford when he was 16, moved through the ages, was training with the first team with the likes of Pantilimon and Gomez, two top quality goalkeepers, and he was on the verge of a first team breakthrough when he was actually struck down with a life-threatening illness, something that's linked to sudden death syndrome. He was in intensive care for a couple of weeks, and there was about a year, just under a year, in between his games for the under-23s around there. So it'll be really interesting to get into that a little bit and his mindset around it, because he has bounced back from that. He signed for Derry City. He's represented Northern Ireland at under-21 level as well. So it'll be interesting to see how he's got himself back into the shape and into the mental state that he is in today. So that's what we're going to be talking about for the next half an hour or so. Stick with us. Let's get into the video.
Hear me?
Yeah, you're in. How are you doing?
All right, mate. I'm good, mate. You? I'm all good.
Yeah, not too bad. The sun's been shining today, so I'm trying to get out as much as possible.
Yeah, same here. It wasn't too sunny today, to be fair. Not here anyway. It's always raining.
Yeah. So what is this? A lockdown beard going on here?
The whole thing. If I take this hat off, I'm in baller.
Oh, I tell you, the only time I do my hair is for these at the moment. Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it? It's going nicely.
I think that looks good, actually. I think all that and the beard and whatnot. Yeah, it's a strong look you've got going on there.
Cheers, mate.
So, how's lockdown been for you?
It's a bit of a kick in the teeth, really, for us as Derry, because obviously we've just started our season. We started in March. February actually. So coming into this now, we've only played I think it's 4 games, and you don't really get a chance to start your season. You get what I mean? So it's been okay. In terms of football's not the most important thing right now. The world health a lot more important. So it's been okay. Running and stuff. I've ran more than I've ever ran. I'll tell you that much. Keep fit and keep the weight off, because I feel like a good treat, I will say.
Yeah, so in terms of your own goalkeeping wise then, because you've been off for about 10, 12 weeks now, haven't you? Have you been able to do anything yourself? Have you been given a programme? How's it worked?
No, actually, because I've done a bit of coaching for Ryan McBride Foundation, the goalkeeper coach, I think, for a player who sadly passed away a couple of years back. So I knew a few drills and stuff, and obviously I took what I had from all our coaches. And my dad here, to be fair, he took me before I moved over to England, so me and him were a few sessions here and there. Don't want to do too much, as you said, I have to get my body used to going back into full time. It's more about keeping fit and my fitness levels up.
Yeah, have you been given any sort of indication about when you might go back?
It's all up in the air, really. We get told one day, and then the next day it changes. It's pretty much the same probably with everyone, for boys at the minute. So, like I said, it's probably, can't say we'll be too far away now, because everyone's other countries and stuff seem to be getting their teams back into training and stuff. So hopefully not too far away, but I'd say probably within the next month, hopefully. Well, I hope.
I mean, Premier League's going back soon, if not already, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's only a time before you guys go back.
Yeah, obviously the testing and stuff has to be done first. Everyone's got to be healthy, and that's the most important thing. If everyone's not healthy, then you can't go back. So we'll do the testing. Whenever that's needed to be done, we'll continue on.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, just to give it a little bit of background into you. Stop me if any of this is wrong, by the way, or needs adding to. But you started playing football for Institute across in Ireland. You moved across to Watford when you were 16. Moved through the ranks, 16s, 18s, 23s. You're on the verge of a first-team breakthrough, really. You were number 3 to Gomez and Pantilimon there. Your time at Watford also included a loan spell at Chelmsford. But that was after you were struck down with a life-threatening illness. I think it was 24 hours after actually playing for the 23s. And then it was almost a year between games then, between your last 23 games and your first 23 games. So you had almost a year when you were battling this illness and you were getting back to full fitness. Then from there, your career at Watford kind of came to an end. Signed for Derry.
Yeah.
Back up to a standard and managed to get into the Northern Ireland U21 team. You've been capped a couple of times for the 21s there.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, you're spot on with everything there. It's just probably obviously I'm only young, so it's only 22. So you gotta keep myself level headed and stuff. But it's been a roller coaster, put it that way. But it's been eventful.
Yeah, I'm really interested in this. And I don't want to focus just on that one period of time in your life.
Mm-hmm.
We want to cover the journey one, but I think that one period might get a little bit more focused than others, because I'm really interested in your mental state, about how you came back from that, and all the kind of thoughts, processes that you might have gone through that. But if we go back to the very start then, and when you started playing, how was that? When did you start? How old were you? What was that experience all about?
Well, if I'm being honest, like as a kid, I was always quite a heavy kid, quite a fat kid, so I never really had no interest at the start when I was very young in playing sports and stuff. I always supported teams, but then it came to probably going into secondary school, just before secondary school years, and I was, again, just coming back home. You go in from school, sitting on a chair in the PlayStation, eating what I wanted. My family and stuff, they were just like, look, we had friends, but they were just school friends, you know what I mean? So they were like, look, we want to take you to an after school activity almost. So it was football. I went to football institute. I was about 10, 11. But I thought everyone doesn't want to be a keeper when they start duty, let's be honest. So I went as a centre half. Too much running. I'm sorry, but everyone says it, but even as a centre half, it was like running. But then you see people saying about strikers, and I was like, nah, I don't want to be doing any more of that running. So went then to left back. That was even worse because there was more running than left back. And then one day I just went in goals because, to be honest, there was this one season I didn't want to do the running. I was quite a heavy kid. Done well, and since then stayed there. Didn't really progress fully. Wasn't sure the younger years where I wanted to play. And then I'd probably say about 11. Then I chose obviously keeper. I started playing well and started buying gloves and stuff. Well, I didn't buy them. My dad bought the gloves and stuff. And then just enjoyed it from there. And then obviously, as I got older, I seemed to get more into it and get better. And then all of a sudden, I didn't get into institute then fully and properly and full time, training every day. So Northern Ireland came, county. There's what do you call it? It's like a system over here. When I was younger, it was like the county. So I live in Northern Ireland, so us 6 counties, all the select. So like the best in the county would go in and train together and play together. And then at the end of there's 2 times a year, probably around Christmas time, and at the end of that season, we'd all play in just like a tournament against all the counties and see who produced the better players. So got into that, and then I've done well there, and then I went through the younger ages. Then I started getting playing for Northern Ireland.
So you didn't really have an interest at all, and then sort of 11, 12, then that sort of ages is where kind of an interest got sparked.
Yeah, it was. See, like I'm the type of person when I was younger. Anyway, I just enjoyed my own space. I enjoyed a kid should always enjoy friends and stuff. I'm not saying that, but I had no other interest but like Xbox, PlayStation gaming, and then going straight into school again. So I had no outside activities, just going from one place to another and then nothing in between. So obviously my dad and family were just like, look, why don't you try something else? And then found out I was interested in it big time. Obviously everyone supports a team. It was just one of those things where I'd say as more I got into it, the more I started enjoying it.
Yeah, so you started playing then at 11. You were picked up by Watford at 16, and in between you've represented Northern Ireland at various different age groups. I read one article that said that you had a couple of incredibly good victory shields, which is England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, isn't it? It's that competition. So that's a big amount of development taken in a small amount of time.
Yeah, I've always believed in working hard. That's probably I've never been probably technically the best or anything, but when I put my mind to it, I will try to get it done. But then setbacks, like everyone says, setbacks are are there. You mentioned Victory Shield. I got called up a year early for my age because of an injury that happened to an goalkeeper. I got called up, and then the next year I didn't get in my own age. So it was like a kick in the teeth almost. So I said to myself, and I spoke to my dad, and I was just like, I don't want to miss out on any more Northern Ireland. And then I got to the age of 13, 14, I wanted to go to England and really play and see if I can make a career out of it. And yeah, I just worked hard at it. And then the following year I made sure I wasn't left out. And that's where everything came about. Really, it was probably more where my hunger and stuff came out of.
So then, how did the move to Watford come about then?
Well, I played for Institute at 15. I played for the men's team. Not often. I played a couple of games, like reserve games, and then I played in a couple of cup games, like the smaller, which is like semi-professional amateur. I'm not too sure what the level is now. So I played there at 15. It's coming into the 16th birthday, and I'd seen everyone that I was playing with Northern Ireland with moving across. So I was like, obviously, I was getting a bit more. I was working twice as hard. But when I finally got the chance to, it came from my Northern Ireland coach at the time, was Steve Robinson, who is now Motherwell manager in Scotland. He was our under 16, 17 coaches at the time for Northern Ireland, and he knew the academy director, Christian Goyen, well, and I still hadn't been on a trial or anything, and obviously he'd seen how I was working throughout the year, so he says, look, they've released their under 16 at the time coming into the scholars year, so he just went to me, look, Chris says you can go on trial there for a week, and after that week I got a call a month later and I was there. So I got signed in a 2-year.
So before you went on that, you hadn't had any trials at any other clubs?
No, I had, there was talk, I was supposed to go to a few clubs, but then nothing ever materialised, which it doesn't have to. Clubs do what they want. Like, I was upset at the time because I felt like I was good enough to get over. But because of certain situations to do with obviously scholars over there, at the time at 16 I didn't understand really until I went on trial what the system and all was there. Because over here it goes by year of birth, not school year. Do you get what I mean? So over here it's like everyone was 98, 99, and then over there school year obviously. So I didn't know that at the time. So when I was asking for trials the year before, it was actually the time where they weren't going for a trial. Do you get what I mean?
Right.
So like where I was a bit in between. But when I went in, I'd done well. And then obviously Chris rang up probably say mid-May through my GCSEs. And then I was over there by June. Started pre-season.
So
scholars.
That trialling process, it's your first trial. You've got to come from Ireland, you've got to fly across to Watford, you're there for a week. What was going through your mind as a 15, 16-year-old lad? Well,
back then I wasn't confident. Like, I wouldn't say I'm arrogant. Like, I was confident in what I could do, but it was the fact that I had more probably to lose than other players. So I had to move away from home early age, buy myself away from my parents, move in. But when I went, obviously, first day was what probably set it off for me. The people I moved in with, Cliff and Penny at the time, my scholar, and the house I moved in. At the time, they were superb with me that whole week. They just basically done everything for me and just let me settle in the way I needed to on trial. Went and trained, played a game a couple of days in, probably eased the nerves of it, play well there, and then from there on, went in after the week was finished. Then it was like a blur, do you get what I mean? So it was like, you start the week there and then it blurred the whole way, and at the end you're like, oh, I wish it would last a bit longer, because towards the end I was enjoying it. But then I had my club commitment here with the under-19s at 15. Well, I was 16, just turned 16 at the time. So I was playing for the 19s then. I had my commitment to go back that following week to play in the Monday night game. So I left on a Saturday night after the game on the Saturday for the under-18s and came back.
So you kind of finished your trial period, came back and just got straight back into what was your previous experiences and football that you were playing already?
Yeah, so it was a weird one. So obviously at the time in Northern Ireland there was a system called the Club NI. So I'd go up there twice a week. It was in Belfast at the time, so I'm about an hour and a half from Belfast. So you go up there, train twice a week at night. Came back, so obviously I knew that wouldn't have been a problem because that was the aim of the Club NI, to get players across. But I had signed an amateur contract with the Institute at the time. So at any under-19s reserves or first team, I needed to be there. but they'd obviously give their blessing for the 1 week for me to go, obviously, and I missed 2 games, and that the Tuesday and the Friday while I was at Watford. But then on the Monday, look, there was no excuse for me. I love playing, so that I didn't feel like I took the Sunday off, didn't train on Sunday when I was young, and just went to the game and played on until, for me anyway, it was, if I got a contract, I got a contract. If I didn't, then I knew I'd done my best, but I couldn't just ignore my club football here, do you get what I mean, and sulk if I didn't get it.
Yeah, of course. So what was the time like then between going on trial and then getting the phone call?
I went on trial, like it was like a March time, right, around my 16th birthday. I think it was the weekend after. And then I signed then, I think it was the end of April, start of May, because obviously they had to weigh up the other options because I knew there was a couple more keepers that went on trial before me. Then obviously when they weighed up their options and stuff, I was fortunate enough to get the contract, which is a good thing obviously, but at the same time I had to understand that they weren't going to just sign me there and then. Like I'd spoke with the club during that week, and you get feelers of course, but now when I look back, obviously being older, I could have probably guessed I was going to get it. They were telling me certain things, but then when I was back then, I didn't know. I just wanted to actually get the piece of paper in front of me, sign it, and go at that point.
Yeah. So what's your initial reaction there when you get that phone call saying, "Look, we want you. Here's your contract. This is what it is."
Yeah, at the time I just signed with an agent as well, so I was with them. Obviously playing for Northern Ireland, there's quite a lot of players from our Northern Ireland team was with that agent. So we got a call Saturday morning. It was probably about 2 hours before a game, but obviously pre-match and stuff when you're a kid's not really obviously as professional now. So I just remember waking up, sitting down to get a bit of porridge or whatever it was at the time I was eating, and then my dad came in. My dad was the one who got the call, and dad got the call, came in and said, "Look, they said they want to sign you. It's up to you now wherever you want to go." And I wouldn't say I was emotional at the time. I wasn't like, because obviously I had the game. Obviously back when I think about it now, I probably should have been a bit happier when I was actually on the day. Do you get what I mean? But because I was trying to think, right, I have a 19s match now, I can't just be buzzing with this and then go in and just, if I have a stinker, then I'll just be feeling terrible. But I can't be complacent about it. Do you get what I mean? So
yeah,
it was at the time. Obviously that weekend when I told my family and stuff, I hadn't signed. He says, "Look, we don't want you, take your time with it and take a couple of weeks." And within the 2 weeks then I got, my agent was, at the time, was just contacting me and saying, "Look, there's multiple clubs here offering other deals." And you're like, just because I'd signed one with, not signed, but I got offered one with Watford. And then I had a couple of hours come in just, who I was supposed to go on trial with, but never did. So I was like, look, Watford were the first ones to come in. It was off the back end of their playoff final season as well, that Beanie one.
right.
So I was just like, look, I can't ignore this. They were the first one to put the faith in me, and I want to just give it back to them.
So you make the big move yourself across to Watford. What was that transition like for a young lad?
Because the international clearance, I'd probably say at the start was the biggest problem. To be honest, like we had our international clearance, didn't go through my first year until about December. So I never won really. I would say I missed home that much, but at that time you can't not, because every day I was just going training digs, back to digs, then training digs with no match at the weekend. You know what I mean? So you came to the match and you're traveling to the match, but you're in your tracksuit. You can only do the warm up because you can't play, and then you're going back and getting showered and back in the change room and watching again, which is, for me, it was more demoralising because I went and played, because the year before, obviously with Institute, I played like 50 some games because I was playing for everyone, playing twice a week, and I was just like, I wasn't used to not playing. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, I found it hard training with no objective to the following week. So I missed home a little bit. I wouldn't say it was as bad as probably some other players that you would speak to would be, but it was still hard for me the first. I'd probably say up until, as soon as I started playing, then I was fine, because I knew I had a job to do, and that's kind of the mindset I've always been brought up in.
Right. So I mean, you went across there, and your first age group was under 16s at Watford. Then you've gone through the age brackets. You were training with the first team in the end. What's the differences then between the age groups?
I didn't get much of a breaking in, to be honest, at the start, because when I first signed my score within the first week, I went to Italy and Austria with the first team on a pre-season tour. So I'd only really spent the first 4 days of testing with them. So when I went there, obviously I had the experience of going there at 16, even training with like Jonathan Bond, who's at West Brom now, and then he was the only one out there at the time. And then Gomez came halfway through the pre-season trip when he had signed. But even at then, it was like it made it easier for me at the time at that first little clip and better going into the training. But I'd say the following year, because obviously when you're 16, you're not in your body. Like I remember Troy putting up a picture on Twitter and stuff because of how skinny I was and how I was only 16, like so I wasn't to be built like a brick. But then when I started growing into my body with a full-time gym, I'd never really done gym even when I was here. So when I'd done the full-time gym and stuff, I started growing into my body a bit. And the following year, probably the better experience for me was when the first team. I got used to the standards straight away. It's like first thing I noticed when I went, especially, was when you play 18s and 23s, the 23s especially are only one step away from the first team. There's not a massive gap. You get what I mean? So we were playing 23s at the time, and we played, I remember, a pre-season game, and I was against like the likes of Tammy Abraham, Mason Mount, and look where they are now. And then you had the likes of George Byers in our team, Josh Doherty, who's at Swansea and Crawley at the minute, and etc. So they're close, you know what I mean? They're just the next step into it. So at the 18s, I'd probably say the gap between the 18s and 23s is a lot bigger than obviously the first team and the 23s. Right. But like you said, you have to be ready to take your chance. If you're not ready, then you're going to be stripped back out the door. And that's the way football works, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, and then at that end point, then you're training with the likes of Pantilimon and Gomez, and those two are phenomenal keepers, internationals. You know, they played at the highest standard. What are the characteristics of those top class goalkeepers?
You had various different type of goalkeepers at Watford at the time. The only reason I was there is because Renigan Martin, who's now at Derry City, he was the one that got the knee injury that allowed me to go in. But even Big Reg was super with me the whole time, breaking in with me, made sure I felt comfortable every day, asking, even though essentially I was in his place because of his injury. Gomez, he's very relaxed, very humble. Like, he was unbelievable the time he was there at Watford, still is now. And like training, because obviously you're at different stages, different styles. It's a bit more of a complex session that I was used to, because my colleague Chamberlain, the under 23s and 18s, like the English style of goalkeeping was very pacey, and everything was so reps, shots, saves, didn't matter how it went in. Where like a foreign at the time, it was Paolo Di Toffo as a goalkeeper coach, and then like the Italian style was very calm, catch, clean. It's like perfecting all your tools. And obviously at Gomez's age and stuff, that suited him perfectly, because don't get me wrong, he's still fit and sharp and everything, but he just needed what was right for him at that time. And then you got Panty, who's 6'10", and for his height, a freak athlete as well. So it was good to train every day and try and learn off them. Especially they're very humble and try to help me as much as they can, and we're always supportive if I was ever needed.
Did you take any specific things from their game, how they approach stuff, what they did, and then try and integrate that into your game?
Anyway, especially young keepers, like I'd say British keepers, always obsessed with like catching. It's always an obsession. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, the thing I learned off Gomez was he never took a shot, say, for granted. So if it was too hard, he never tried to catch something that was going to be ridiculously pacey. You do this stun. Hugo Lloris, you see, do it quite a lot, where like bounces in the floor and takes a sting out of it. And I think for young keepers, especially, it took me a while to get used to it. Is you can't catch everything. Like, that was me. Like, because over here, all the Northern Ireland ages, you're working on fast hands, fast feet, solid, clean. And over there, the drills could be touch and reaction. It wasn't not so much catching everything, but it's just keeping it out of the net. And I just had to learn to not beat myself up. Like, in training, especially when I was younger, I'd say I was a big one for, say, if you made a mistake and went in the goal, even in a small city game, I'd always beat myself up. You see the famous kick the post, or you see the keepers going like that and slapping their head. Where someone like Gomez, you'd see him make the odd mistake, but he would never let him bother him. He'd smile and he came into the game, and it never happened in the game that season in the Premier League. That first one, I remember Gomez that year was sensational. And being a part of that was fantastic for me. Like you see the calm ahead, everything was so composed. Never pushed his body to the limit, which was a big thing. Ended up I should have took out of it, but I didn't at the time. He never pushed it. If he felt something, he always let them know, and he was never overtraining. Obviously, he was an older age of goalkeeper as well, so it just meant then he knew it was right for his body. And then with Panty 6'10" or whatever he is, he's a complete different goalkeeper. But for someone of 6'10", I've probably not seen someone get down to a low never as quick in my life. Like he used to amaze me every time. Coming from Man City and stuff, he was very technical. And it was probably, you pick everything out of different keepers' games, and then you've got the likes of Arlaskas just there at the time, and he's more of I'd say Soviet style, because he was mad. Like everything was just bang, 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 reps, and you didn't know what was going on half the time. He was like, I remember sitting there and thinking, I'd doing a session before Panty came in. Gomez had played on Saturday, and me and him were on the Sunday. And Arlaskas wanted a hard session. I remember coming out of it, and I was like, I can't feel my legs. And at the time, I wasn't taking days off either, so I was ruined. Like, and he was getting up, laughing, smiling, picking me up and stuff, and I was just like, this is madness. But yeah, it's probably more the how calm they were during situations for me anyway. Especially I need quick.
That's kind of a good little segue into a question that we've had in from Instagram. It's actually come from Nathan_Graham88, and he says, what tips would you give to a young goalkeeper? If you've got to give a specific bit of advice, a tip or whatnot, what would you say, what would you give to a young goalkeeper?
About things like, especially when you come to terms of, say for instance, a mistake happens, I know especially because I had to learn from my own mistakes are good, because it means then if there's a mistake there, no one's ever perfect. Even the top world keepers are never perfect. So, like you said, mistakes are going to happen. You got to embrace them. The sky was probably the opposite. I usually beat myself up. That following after a mistake, I would have done the same technique 20 times, and it kept happening because I was not letting myself just get over it. Naturally, you're not going to know everything about goalkeeping. So for me, it would probably just stay relaxed. Don't let anything get on top of you. That's probably what I would say.
Do you use any specific techniques now in order to help you along that? Because that's something that we see a lot, and I think the mental pressures on a goalkeeper are a lot greater than any other position in the game. So is there anything, any sort of, I don't know, techniques that you specifically do, any rituals, any routines, anything like that helps you in a game?
I'm not one for believing in rituals, I'll be honest, but I'm probably one that won't watch clips and stuff the night before a game. It's different with your team. Say you're in an away match and your team's watching like team clips of how to prepare for the opposition, but I wouldn't watch any individual clips of myself, because I'm always one, if I was to see like a game clip of myself and watch back what I've done wrong, if I'd done that the night before, I'd be thinking about that going into the game. So I would say probably just not what I just listen to the headphones, sit in the coach. There's no point being tense, really. You're always going to be nervous. Nervous is a good thing. If you weren't nervous, then you wouldn't care about the game. I'd say I'd probably say don't be too tense going into a game, because you're worrying your heads. It's not even a big issue then. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake, but you've got to think then the positive of how many times do you save that normally. Do you get what I mean?
Mm. Okay, so going back, you're at Watford at a particular time. I think from what I read over, you would actually play. You were in the squad, that is, for the semi-final. I think at Watford, at Wembley it was. Then you played in the 23s. Then you were having a recovery session in the gym in the morning, and you ended up in intensive care the next day.
That was a mad 48 hours, doesn't it? It does sound mad, doesn't it?
Yeah, that sounds horrendous.
Yeah. Yeah, if I'm being honest, it wasn't, like, at the time, obviously I was training with everyone. If I'm being honest, comes into where I said of knowing your own body. I was 17 and not taking days off, even though I was sometimes getting advice to, sometimes I believe I could have been helped. That's me, but then obviously it's down to myself. Do you get what I mean? So I was not taking days off. I had like problems coming that season that I was always put back, to get what I mean. So it was like I came from a shoulder niggle, like I had a shoulder, popped my shoulder out. I popped it back in, got an injection, played on. So I was struggling with that, and then I started developing like a cough for about 3 weeks before the semi-final. As a 17-year-old, you don't want to rule yourself out of FA Cup, and that first week that I popped my shoulder, we were going to the Emirates for the quarter-final, and I was like, I'll do anything. Didn't bother me. I'll do anything to play. Rather than to play, obviously to be involved. So I knew I was pushing my body too hard, but I was just trying to get through to the end of the season, because everyone's just trying at that stage, get the season, then that was your off time. So I went to Wembley semi-final. That was probably the best footballing experience, one of them, in terms of collectively. I had an experience. I forgot about everything that day, even though it was a bad result for our team. And then semi-final came, and then obviously I was needed back for the 23s. They're playing Birmingham away. And they had said to me, look, you played the following week. He says, look, you don't have to play. Like, it's the last game of the 23 season. You don't have to play. Take it off, go home. And I was like, no. Like, I wanted, obviously, you want to play as many games as you can. And at that time of the year, then I'd just been offered pro. So you want to show what you're coming into, what you're offering coming in the following year, even though I'd been with them the whole year. I went in. No, Tuesday night I didn't feel right that game, and that I think it was a Monday night. Monday night I didn't feel right. If I'm being honest, like I've always struggled with asthma, and even leaving. I remember sitting in the bus before the game, and I was like tight. Like I'm not one for nerve. I wouldn't say nerve. I get nervous, but I wouldn't be like where I need blue inhalers or anything. But I remember going into the game and I was thinking there's something not right. Like I couldn't really focus, breathe. Do you get what I mean? I was all over the place. Even in the warm up, I wasn't clean as what I was normally. I just said in the chamber, I said to the chamber before, look, I'm fine. He had asked me because obviously it wasn't the best in my warm ups. Played the game. I was fine in the game. I got winded about 10 minutes in, and that's probably where I should have ultimately said something. Because when I got winded, normally you get winded for about 10, 15 seconds, you get your breath back. But I wasn't getting it back for a very long time, and that's when I knew then. I was like, something's not right, but you can get through. Finished the game, got my breath back within about 5 minutes, finished the game. That night was fine after the game then. No breathing difficulties or nothing. I went to bed fine, woke up the next morning. You always go in for recovery the next day. When I went in for the recovery, felt fine going in. Went into the gym at the start of the session, was okay. I remember doing the exercise. It was a bit of upper body weights at the time. I remember just chest against the bench. I remember losing my very quickly, obviously, and then all of a sudden, bang, I couldn't breathe. And I knew something was not right because obviously I've been feeling like this the last couple of days. So as I was walking to the physio room to tell my physio Rob Sharp at the time, I got this like stabbing left pain in my stomach. And my dad obviously took a heart attack before, obviously when I was younger. Like thinking, can't be anything like this, like surely not. But then when I got to the room, then I was hyperventilating when I could breathe again, and then I blacked out. Obviously, when I woke up, then I was in the ambulance, going to the ambulance, and going on my way to Watford General, and that's where, then for me, it was a nightmare started there.
So you were in intensive care for a couple of weeks, and then you were discharged and told not to do any exercise whatsoever for 10 weeks. Oh. I can't hear you now.
Can you still hear me?
Oh, there you go. That's better.
Just lagged there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you could. So, yeah, you were told you were discharged.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Can you hear you now? Yeah. Yeah, I was told. The 10-week thing was bad, to be honest. Like obviously you have, when you're in intensive care, it's never good. Like, so when I was I'd seen things that an 18-year-old shouldn't be seeing. Do you get what I mean? Like seeing people sick in intensive care, because it was a heart hospital as well. Everything was serious, but it wasn't so much. I wasn't really. What shall I say? I wasn't really down about it. It wasn't the illness, because I always knew you can come back from things.
Yeah, I can still hear you. Right, let's get him back in. Shane Beatty says, we're waiting. Yeah, we are. We're waiting, Nath. Let's see if we can get you back in and get this connection good.
Hello?
Right, that's any better.
Am I back?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, so picking up
10
where I was
weeks
there.
intensive care.
Yeah, it was intensive care then for, was it 10 days, I think? That was probably, for me anyway, it was definitely the worst time. Not so much mentally, but it was obviously when I just said there now, I don't know if it was cut off, but seeing things that I probably shouldn't have seen when I was 18, seeing people around me, like at the time I just had a girlfriend, my family didn't know at the time when I first went in. It was a different situation for me then. The kind of was hard, do you know what I mean? I'd seen Troy and the players and all were coming in with me every other day. See, I was Rob Sharp, the physio, never left my side. And to be honest, for him, he was probably the most influential person I probably had at that time. So then you had all that. Then after you get out, and I was in kind of denial, if I'm being honest. Like they told me 10 weeks, no exercise, and then you wouldn't be back until the following year. But when you're 18 after the year, I was just having getting offered pro. I was like, nah, it's not happening. Like you're telling her October and November I'll be back. And the woman kept laughing at me saying, you've just almost died for a heart problem. Are you okay? So I was like, just, yeah, whatever. I just in denial, just basically ignoring what they were saying. The 10 weeks came by, then obviously when I came back home early, Watford said, look, go spend time at home with your family. You haven't really spent much time away from the training ground this year. I went back home early, medication. I was always at a good weight. Like I was always like a slimmer keeper at the time. But with a steroid, prednisone tablet, I blew up on weight in 10 weeks. So I went from like 84, 85, 86 kg, I fluctuated to like 102. Well, for a keeper but he was naturally lean, and I ballooned out in weight, massive. Because I had living a normal lifestyle, but I'd never lived like a normal teenage or adult life at the time. Ballooned out in weight, no exercise, went back into pre-season the next season, and that was probably where my struggles really hit the door for me. Couldn't get into the year. Obviously a year out then, by the time I didn't come back, it was January, February time. I had a couple of setbacks where I tried to rush it. There was a few months probably from I'd say August to October where I was making great progress, and I rushed it due to certain football reasons, and I started rushing my comeback, which is stupid obviously now when you think about it. I'd never advised that. And then it spread to my lung, my condition. My lung got punctured in a biopsy, and then it was just one thing after another. And then it was probably after then where I just mentally I took a real hit, to be honest.
During that period of time, and especially when you're facing setback after setback, what did you do to keep yourself on track? What did you do in order to keep you mentally focused on what the end game was?
If I'm being honest with you, if I'm being honest, I wasn't mentally what I should have been. Because at the time, I was struggling to feel like, why was I even playing football if this had happened? Do you get what I mean? Like I was always brought up to be strong-minded, hard worker, work harder than whoever you're against. And at the time, I was heavy, I was big in weight, was trying different diets. I'd lost a little bit on my good few months, but I still was nowhere near what I needed to be. And then it's down to myself, really, my own fault, but I just struggling, for me, mentally to think, why with football, why am I giving everything into the game when I just got kicked out of it like that, do you know what I mean? And when I was there, I just got obviously worse and worse. I was starting to become more interested in other avenues at the time, like in terms of I was enjoying normal life more than what I should have been. Obviously, when I was a scholar, and then I ultimately left. And when I came back, I was still heavy, even in my first match or two playing, and never got the weight off really until I left. And I left Watford, really, which is about 2 years on.
which obviously being heavier for me, I wasn't used to it and I couldn't get used to that either. And for me anyway, I was always obsessed, which is a bad thing, of how I looked. So if I go into a kit, and I remember going into body fat tests and being like, oh, you're the highest in the team again. Oh, negative attitude instead of being upbeat and be like, look, you just had something happen to you, like, serious, get on with it. Which I didn't learn properly until I probably came back here when I released, and which was my own doing. Wasn't good enough. Obviously, people have their reasons. I believe I wasn't good enough at the time. And then as I was there, then I started my second year. I was fit, coming back into it. Started training with the first team again because everyone knew me at the time. Like I was this next big thing. Apart, I was reading articles and all about myself all the time, but I just couldn't get myself thinking about it fully. Do you get what I mean? I couldn't get my head back into it. So obviously coming back into your first game, then after I come back, you fresh 8-0. That was another hit back for me. I was just like, look, your mind's off it for me. I remember training with like the keepers that are there, Charlie Bannister, and even the older ones, Big Reginald, were trying their best because they knew they always wanted to be as good as maybe I was when I was there, like before all this. But it was just every time I was getting better, I got knocked back. At my age at that time, I didn't know how to deal with it, you know what I mean? So I struggled probably more mentally than I would technically and physically with the football in England by the time I left and got released.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Charlie. Charlie's just come in on the chat, and he also asked a question about smoke alarm behind as well. But he actually said he was at Watford with you when you came back from heart problem. So proud of him watching from the bench from his first game back. You were a proper inspiration.
Yeah, big Charlie, because obviously at the time I just signed a 2-year pro. So I went from being so involved with first teams in the 2-year pro, and then Watford, obviously, when they spoke to me then that summer, that was never going to be ready before Christmas. Big Charlie came in there, had a great relationship with Charlie, and a great lad. And then Charlie, at the time, was doing high kills, our 23s match, and Charlie was doing so well for us that he was playing really good. And then I remember having a conversation with Charlie saying that they wanted me to come back my first game. And to be fair to Charlie, I would have maybe had a different reaction, but Big Charlie was happy enough, and he sat on the bench. And I remember him being happy for me, after getting we got tanked, if I'm being honest, 8-0 or whatever it was. But he came in, and me and Charlie had probably, for talking youth goalkeeper relationships, me and Charlie probably had the best I had there while I was at Watford, and he was a good lad.
So I'm interested in your mindset then compared to now, because you've gone through this massive upheaval, massive change. Mm-hmm. You've been knocked back. You've just come back, and then you've been beaten 8-0 as well within that period. Yeah. You've gone from that position that you're in there to playing for Northern Ireland U21s again.
Yeah.
So what's changed in that? What's changed between then and now?
Probably the best thing for me was to come back here. I was talking to a few teams, obviously, when I was in England still. But at that time, mentally, it was minds off what I was normally. And I knew if I'd signed for someone else there in England, or whether I wasn't too sure what way I was going to be. I came back first year here at Derry, then I had like a purpose, you know what I mean? So I went in, obviously I only played 7 games last year, being number 2. But when I was playing and getting the feel for it, I remember I was having a conversation that I can't remember who it was with. And obviously they were talking to me about how good you used to be, and it was kind of irritating me, to get what I mean? I was like, what do you mean used to be?
Right.
So I was just like, you know what, I'm kind of fed up, do you get what I mean with this? And I was just like, look, there's 2 ways. You can still feel sorry for yourself and dump yourself with a football, your own doing, no one else's. I've never blamed anyone else. So I said, look, you can either dump yourself with a football, or you stop feeling sorry for yourself now. You're done with whatever's happened. You can get yourself in probably your best condition that you've been in, and you can have a proper go at it. And probably around summer last year, I was like, look, I'm going to stick to a plan. Even when I came back, I was doing training well. I've always had the mindset of 100% in training. I've never slacked. It's just me as a person. I believe that if I'm not good enough technically, I will be working hard to become the best I can. I think like if you're going to be successful, you got to be like that. So I was kind of like stuff inside yourself now. Get the weight off. You look the best you can, and whatever's happens, let's be honest, it's not going to be nowhere near enough, hard enough compared to what happened there. So for me now, it's just I've already experienced near death and stuff like that. So I'm like, what's going to be worse? Well, an injury. If I do an injury, then I'm like, oh great, you can recover from that. You can get a rehab. You'll be back again. Keep yourself fit. Live a proper footballer's lifestyle, and ultimately, if you want to go the highest you want to go in the game, then you've got to put the work in to be there. So I was like, look, stuff inside for yourself was the main thing. Spoke obviously with my friends and stuff. For me, anyway, for what my problem was, I've always been a happier guy. Like I've always been laughing, carry on. But during the time when I was recovering from the heart and especially all that stuff, I was like, look, that's it now. Like my whole mindset was moving. I wasn't the nice guy. I've never been cheeky or angry, but I was never happy-go-lucky sort of attitude, you know what I mean? And when I had that, my friends and all seen the difference, and they were like, look, you're not who you are. You either need help or you can sort yourself out, especially when I came back. And that was one of the friends and family. I heard that, and then I remember just sitting there. I'll actually be honest, I was sitting when I first came back in that August, and I wasn't in the squad, the bench or anything for Derry at the time. I remember signing, and I was still number 3, and I remember sitting in a stand. I think it was an away game, cold evening. I was sitting there thinking, what, are you just going to sit here and accept what's going on? I signed a long deal, but that means nothing. Deals mean nothing if you're not going to work during them, do you get what I mean? So I was like, look, work hard and stuff inside yourself, and that was probably where I got my head back, and I knew, look, I'm only 21 at the time. When I first signed for there, I was 20, but when I was 21 last year, I was like, look, start not going down. I'm nowhere near. My career's nowhere near even started properly, really. So knuckle down, and I got my rewards then towards the end of the season from obviously playing well the times I did, and then my work ethic is probably what earned me a new contract, and obviously a call for Northern Ireland.
Yeah, so you got the call for Northern Ireland, you made your debut, kept a clean sheet against Romania. Yeah. How was that?
Well, for me anyway, I kind of knew I wanted to be there. Like I wanted to be there. I always believe I'm good enough. So I was like, look, the whole week I was there and I was seeing all these players, and we at the time the keeper was sent off. That's why I got my chance. The captain at the time was also the keeper, and he got sent off the game before. So I knew, look, clean slate. You might have been a keeper at international level when you're younger, but that's nothing to what it is now. Do you get what I mean? Like, so I was sitting there and I remember thinking to myself, like, you belong here, sort of. Even though I hadn't had games and probably recognition I had in a few years, I was like, you belong here. If you don't show it, then you're not going to be in again. I remember going into the week then, just carried on my normal training routine, because our season finished a couple of weeks before, but obviously knowing, we found out just before the end of the season I was there, like I was going to be in the squad. So I just continued really training through, keeping myself ticking over a little bit before I went. And I remember training first session and being like, look, yeah, this is good. I want to be back here again. Training the whole time, keeping that mentality strong. And when I played the game, it was no different from playing from the likes of Derry. We played against Romania at home, and there was about 1,500 Romanian fans, and just the parents of Northern Ireland fans, because obviously it wasn't. Romania had a big fall on that night, but it was one of those ones. If I didn't prove it, I didn't belong there, you're not going to be there. It's football, simple. So I was just like, look, I'm going to work hard. If I keep my place in here, I keep it. If not, then I can't be no one else to blame, because I perform the best I can.
So, what's your ambition in football then?
I think if you're a footballer and you're not trying to aim to play as high as you can, then you probably shouldn't play the game. Simple as that. I'll be honest. For me, it's to obviously play as long as I can. I believe now I'm technically and physically in good nick, and I want to continue to keep playing probably for the next 15-20 years. So for me, it's play as long as I can at the highest level I can, whether that's wherever. And as long as I'm happy at the end of the day when I call it, then when obviously I stop playing, I'm like, I give it my best shot. That is what it's been. What it's been.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much me.
I mean, just you've got to move the conversation on again because it's 50 minutes. It's gone incredibly quick. I love listening to you and what you've been through. I think it's such a good story to be with you. Actually, that's a really good question that's just come in from S. McMullen 04. It's about nerves before a game. You said that you do feel a bit of nerves. So obviously, again, going back to that pressures, goalkeepers.
Yeah.
How do you deal with them? How do you personally deal with them?
Well, sorry, there, my phone's ringing, so. Say it again, sorry.
So in terms of the question that's just come in, is about nerves. You're saying that actually you get a little bit nervous, but not overly nervous. So how do you personally deal with that?
You gotta think, like, for me anyway, it was all my, when I was younger and stuff, and that's probably where all my nerves was my big problem, do you get what I mean? Because you obviously build yourself up to be so hyped up, and you're like, look, I want to do well, but then at the same time you're like, oh, the more nervous and the tense you are, you're not going to perform. Simple as. So for me anyway, it was more to do with the fact of if I'm always, when you're clear-headed and calm, for me, you're always much better. And like I said, that was probably where I dealt with it a lot better, and I learned more in England.
Right, I just thought I'd ask that because that came in straight away. But just to move it on, because Scott will kill me if I didn't ask. So thanks for the guys to Scott at S1. And it does also link to a question that came in over Instagram as well, which was from at JLB Footy, which says, what are your favourite goalkeeper gloves that you use?
Well, for me, it's got to be the Sols at the minute, the S1s. Like I hear, like last week, I'd done the interview with Scott, and for me, it has to be the S1s, the Sols. It's what I use at the minute. I've liked them since the model came in. I'm always a traditional flat palm guy, like it's old school, but I don't like a glove too tight, where like the actual S1 originals, the white and black ones, and the other tight gloves don't really suit my fingers and stuff because I wear a lot of tape due to a lot of finger breaks and stuff. So like, yeah, probably the S1 Sols, and a flat palm glove really is the Sols, so spot on for me.
Yeah, why did you choose S1s?
Well, Scott contact, I used to be sponsored by Puma when I was obviously at Watford at the time of all this going on, and I remember I was coming out of the Puma contract, and Scott had contacted me and was like, look, spoke to me, had a conversation, and I went, look, I want to try a few pair of gloves, and he goes, yeah, of course. I got the originals sent out originally with I think they were called Lightning or something at the time. They were white and yellow. But I would always like a smaller, flat palm, more traditional glove. But then I just had a proper conversation with him at the time and said, look, I didn't know where I was, so I didn't want to sign anything, and didn't know what was going on with me. So when I signed with Derry, Scott was the first guy to come back and say, look, congrats, and we want to start working with you. And ever since then, it's been a great relationship with Scott and some guys.
Right, now I've got one question left because our time's almost up. So if anyone else has got any questions, now the time is to ask before we finish. And if you want to show some love and, hearts and whatever else, and any comments that you want for Nate as well, now's the time for people to ask that. But my last question is, you get the choice. You get the choice of 3 goalkeepers, any era, anywhere, but it's for a training session with you and these 3 keepers. Who are they, and why have you chosen them?
Well, for me, Joe Hart's always been an idol. The Man City years, especially, where I was watching football every week when I was a kid, and he was unbelievable at that time. England, international. So Joe Hart would have to be there, probably for me, one of them. You can't really argue with Manuel Neuer, can you? Like, he's a modern goalkeeper. It's such, like, I'd say probably him and David De Gea would be the 3 that I'd say. You have a British style, and then you've got the other 2 who have been icons and idols for most kids and goalkeepers around the world.
That's a pretty strong threesome if that's the 3 that you're going with. Yeah. I've just had a quick look on the questions that have come in, and one question that was asked by Biggest Speedway. The question was, what's your best moment as a footballer? That's something that we didn't touch on.
For me, I've always aimed to play, so yeah, it was nice being at Wembley, obviously with Watford with the first team, for that semi-final game and stuff. But for making my debut probably for Derry, because I went on loan with Chelmsford and that didn't go well towards the end of the year, and that was my first taste of men's football. And I was like, look, at that time it was just a bad experience for me, all in all. So playing for Derry in my full debut, I wouldn't say coming on, because coming on we were in a bad. When I came on, I made my actual debut where I came on for a penalty and we were 1-0 down. But I'd say the following week was a 2-0 clean sheet on my debut, full debut, and that was probably for me my best one, because I had everything I set out for as a professional debut. Obviously, the one you want to be there, and that's what you want to do. So when I'd made that, it was almost like, yeah, I've not made nothing really of myself, but I've done what I needed to do so far for what I'm happy with, and then obviously whatever comes from here, then I can at least say I played a professional game.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. That is a really positive way to end.
Perfect.
Like that. Right, thank you so much for that.
Cheers for the call. Thank you.
Like I found that fascinating. I think that's an inspirational story. I think, yeah, I think the comment from your good friend across at Watford as well was really just summed everything up. So I think there's quite a few different takeaways there that we can that a lot of young people will be able to put in their game. So massive thanks for that.
Cheers.
Go get some taps as well from Rob McKenna.
Yeah, thank you.
Enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's all right. Sure, everyone keep safe anyway during these times.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for that.
All right, see you later.
Cheers, mate. Take care.
Take care.